Still talking about class Insecta, we know that they have segmented bodies and they have a chitinous exoskeleton, and the body is divided into three distinctive tagmata or sections: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. And you can see these in the diagram. They're separated there for you. The head has some sensory antennae, a pair of them, has a pair of compound eyes, and 1 to 3 simple eyes, ocelli. And then there are 3 sets of other appendages that are modified to form mouth parts. The thorax has 6 segmented legs and anywhere from 2 to 4 wings. The abdomen is where you find most of the digestive, respiratory, excretory, and reproductive internal structures. Their nervous system can be divided into a brain and a ventral nerve cord. The thoracic segments have 1 ganglion on each side, and they are connected into a pair, so you've got 1 pair per segment. And you also see these in the first 8 segments of the abdomen. And they've also found evidence of some nociceptors in working with fruit flies, and nociceptors are pain receptors. So all of those are present in insects. As far as respiration and circulation, they don't have lungs. They have internal tubes and sacs where the gases diffuse or are pumped in to deliver oxygen to everything in the body. And since the oxygen is delivered directly, the circulatory system doesn't have to carry oxygen. It is an open circulatory system. Hemolymph is circulated inside the body by peristalsis, which is alternate contractions of the muscles. The air is taken in through spiracles, which you see up there labeled. They are openings on the sides of the abdomen, and there's a few of them up there in the thoracic area as well. Most of them are oviparous, which means that they lay eggs. Some are going to give birth to live young and be viviparous. They all have to molt to grow because of that hard chitinous exoskeleton. In some insects, they go through what's called incomplete metamorphosis, where the young will develop into small adults, but their wings are not fully developed until they become adults. And a lot of the beetles do this. But in complete metamorphosis, like you see a butterfly go through, you have eggs that become larvae, which are worm-like, the caterpillars. Then the larva grows into the pupa, which is the cocoon, and the pupa emerge as an adult. And butterflies, as I said, are an example of insects that go through a complete metamorphosis. This is some hoverflies mating in flight. Many insects are very sensitive and have specialized organs of perception. Some of them, like bees, can detect UV wavelengths and polarized light. That's why they're drawn to certain color flowers. Others can use their antenna to detect pheromones of female moths, and this is over distances of many kilometers, so it's very sensitive. They also are able to perceive sound. Generally, if it makes sound, it can hear sound. And some of your moths that are nocturnal can actually detect the ultrasonic emissions of bats so that they avoid predation. And blood-sucking insects can detect infrared emissions, and that allows them to home in on the host so that they can suck their blood. Insects were the first organisms to produce sounds and to sense them, and they achieve these sounds by using their appendages. And I'm going to wait and make a separate section where you can hear the grasshoppers and the crickets, the katydids, where you can hear the cicadas. But most of those that make sounds have some kind of tympanal organ, which is equivalent to our eardrum, and they sense vibrations. Sometimes they use those vibrations for communicating with members of their species or with another species. The Madagascar hissing cockroach, if you've ever heard it, it makes a hissing sound, and that it does that by pressing air through the spiracles. And there's a moth called the death's head hawk moth that squeaks by forcing air out of their pharynx. Insects also communicate by chemicals or pheromones, and they use these scents. And these are going to be very social insects like ants, and I'm going to also show you that YouTube video. As far as social behavior, a lot of them live together in well-organized colonies. We think of bees living that way. And they can communicate with each other by a dance language, where the angle it dances represents a direction relative to the sun, and how long the dance lasts is how long you got to fly to get there. I'll show you that video also. Only those insects which live in nests or colonies have a true capacity for homing in on something, and that makes it so that the insect can go to a single hole that's just a few millimeters in diameter, which is surrounded by other holes the same size, and it can go to that same hole over and over and over, even after traveling several kilometers. And of course we have some insects like monarch butterflies that migrate, and they have a larger form of navigation that will help them get to general regions or continents. As far as care of the young, most of them, they don't live very long. So once they mate, or maybe they're competing for mates, they don't interact with each other a lot. But a small number of them will actually guard their eggs, or else they'll build a nest and lay their eggs in the nest. For flight, these are the group of invertebrates that fly, and it's all because of aerodynamics. The adult insects have 6 legs for walking, and they have a tripedal gait, which is very fast and stable. Cockroaches are among the fastest, and then some of them, like water striders, can even walk on water. A lot of them can swim, because a lot of them will live part of their life in the water. Some of them, like water beetles and water bugs, have these paddle-like structures to move around in the water. Dragonflies use jet propulsion and expel water out of their rectal chamber to move them around. And then some of them that are going to be underwater have special adaptations to help them with respiration.